In this video, traders, we're going to look at pivot points and how we can use them as targets and as potential areas to initiate a trade. Stay tuned. Hey guys, welcome to you. All right, so pivot points or floor trader pivots and how we can use them as areas to potentially do business or as areas that we look for price targets. So very quickly, I'm gonna hit the screens in a moment and kind of going through some charts and stuff, but very quickly, they come from the floor, come from the floor trader pivots, talk about that in a moment. But in theory, what you're doing is you're framing the trade and we're using them as a reference point to maybe initiate a trade or as a target. So price kind of goes along, maybe it'll hit the pivot, and then reverse back, maybe we'll hit S1 and pause, maybe we'll bounce back up to the pivot, maybe we'll hit R1. So it's just an additional way of framing your trade so you can go, right, you know what, this is my target now, I think I've got the end of a good momentum move, I've got to pull back here, we've broken up, I'm going to use R1 as my target, or we've broken down, I'm going to use S1 as my target, or I'm going to combine it with a reversal pattern and use that as a place to initiate along. You get the idea. What we'll do is hit the screens now, look through some examples, put on some charts, put in the real world stuff and see how we get on. Let's go. Hey traders, a very warm welcome to you. Thank you for joining me. Okay, so floor trader pivots or pivot points, they kind of lost the floor trader over time, but they kind of originated on the floor, and that's what they're called, floor trader pivots. So the guys in the pit, S&P 500 pit, particularly as a time when I used to listen to the Squawk Box from there. They would use pivot points. It was a way of framing the intraday trade. So you'd have a pivot, you'd have an S1, an S2, S3 potentially, and the S stands for support, by the way, and then you have R1, R2, R3. And it can go more than that, but very rarely would you hit that. And the theory was that the market would, under normal conditions, when it's an extreme gap day or an extreme trend day, they don't work so well, but most of the time, and obviously this is where floor traders made their money under normal conditions. Market was testing highs, it was testing lows, it was coming back to open. That's how these guys would be making their money because they'd be playing that range. The trend days, they get run over, but they need to happen from time to time, and so they take the loss on the chin. So floor trader pivots, you're looking to kind of frame the day, and we'll put some on in a moment and see how we do it. I'm in the C Trader platform here, guys. Account, go and check them out. There's a link to them in the description below. I have a little bit of a soft spot for C Trader. If you're not an MT4 fan and you want to use something different, C Trader is a good option. I like it. One of the things I actually like is when you change the scale on this. How many times we get caught up, guys, when we've got a low time frame zoomed in and we kind of forget that actually the scales change massively. So just to remind you, hey, you know what, look, that's a 50 pip range, work it out for yourself. That's a 10 pip range, or however that changes. So that's nice. So I'm on the layout here, guys. I've got rid of my main menu on the left hand side, and I've also got rid of my trade watch on the bottom, and I've just gone for a full chart here. So pivot points, very simply, we come in, we click, go to the indicator section or function section, go down to pivot points here, select it. Now the default is R1, R2, R3 coloured in green, makes sense. S1, S2, S3 coloured in red. I like to make it a little bit darker because you can't quite see it on the white, personal preference. Okay, there we go. So we now have, it's a very simple calculation, the pivots, guys. It's it's super easy. And one thing to point out is if you're interested in kind of finding out the stats behind pivots, there's some people who have done some statistical analysis on pivots and worked out how many times the market touches it during the trading day. Like the pivot point is something like 80%. Don't quote me on this, it may have changed, but it's that order of magnitude. And S1 and S2, sorry, S1 and R1, again, very high probability of being touched if you look over the full kind of year or multiple years. So the reason that people use these and way that you could potentially use it in your own trading is you can frame your day a little bit, and you can say, and they're basically calculated based on the range of the prior day. So if the range of the prior day was wide, then the pivot point R1, S2 are going to be wide as well. So it's the highs, lows, and the range. So you can kind of look and frame the trading day. Now, very often, the way to trade with pivots is to kind of look on a normal day and then say to yourself, right, well, the market very often, as you see here, will push to R1 or S1 and then do something else. So it will maybe push to R1, S1 and then rotate back a little bit and then look for a drive again through and maybe tag R2. But when you're framing the day, you can see very often, guys, how much these actors, they don't necessarily hold price forever, of course not, but very often markets will stall at these levels. And so the way you can trade it, the way you can kind of look at all this, and even today, we had a little bit of a kind of wick at the pivot point here before we pushed, and again a little bit of a wick at S2, and that kind of thing, and S1 and S2's fully in its sights. But and look at this day here, and I only have to scroll through, guys, and you can see for yourselves how often this is FTSE 100, UK 100, FTSE equivalent, how often these kind of hold true. But the idea is use them in conjunction with your existing strategies. So you'd say, all right, let's look at the market here. You big drive down lower. Now you're not going to just step in front of a train and take a trade at a pivot. I'd never do that anyway, guys. If you watch my videos, it's not the kind of thing we like to do. But if you had a reversal pattern there, maybe you'd have a trade like this, for example here. Wick through and reverse back on a 30-minute candle. You might take that short with a stop above the high and kind of look for a move to load a little scalp trade. Later on it went even lower, but I think you'd just be scalping that. But the other way to do it is to look for, number one is look for reversals at key levels. So you look for a reversal, whatever that is, whether that's a wick through the S1 or R1 or the pivot, whether that's a little false breakout. You have the key to using these is to use it in conjunction with some kind of trigger. And the same kind of thing with this. Obviously this is ripped straight through. Now if you took a long, you'd have got stopped out. But if you're pulling back to it as well, it also acts in reverse. So as the market drives through a level, comes back up, that's still the same. It's the same kind of trade, guys, if we're using a traditional support resistance that we've drawn on our chart, and we've got supports now turned into resistance. So there's many ways to use it, and also you can use those as targets for your trades. So let's say you've been looking at this FTSE, okay? FTSE makes a little false breakout early on in the morning here. Let's put my grid on, put my crosshairs on, sorry. Early in the morning, a little bit of a false breakout, and then it starts to roll over. So you see the high broken, you see it roll over. Let's imagine you take a short as it breaks through this low as the pivot. You kind of, the regular trading hours have commenced, and you see a lot of pressure coming in the market. Maybe you see it break through this low, which actually coincides with the pivot, so you've got a bit of confluence there. Your prior day's support, now your pivot breaks through, pulls back up, retests. Maybe you're short, whatever the deal is. So your target for the trade, sometimes it's hard to generate targets, right? We don't know where the target's going to be. So you can also use the probability of the market moving to either S1 or R1 as well on your side as a target. So let's say you have got short in whatever way you've got it, whether if you're early on in the day, great, good luck to you. If you're late in the day and you took a short as it broke through the low in the regular trading hours, fine. The point is that you can now surmise and go, what, if I have got the momentum right, if I got the trend right, then this thing's going to break and it's probably likely to hit S1. At that point I can start to trim, maybe do a trim and trail, maybe take it all off. I can trade and deal with it as I like, and that's the beauty kind of these guys, is that there's no holy grail, but they can offer you a place to get involved, a place to do business, and a place to look for a price target. So they work well on all the indices, the currencies. Individual stocks, I would say not so much personally, but that's personal preference. If you find they're working for you on some of the thicker stocks, like your Apples, your Netflixes, all the big boy stocks, then fine. I definitely wouldn't use them on the micro caps or smaller stuff, because liquidity is going to affect the chart and the way it trades. As you know, if you trade those, they've got a completely different character. So that's pivot points, guys. Easy to find them if you're using C Trader. Go below and like I say, get choice of C Trader. And the good thing about C Trader, actually, it does have a web app, so you don't have to download anything to your platform, unlike to your computer, unlike MT4. So let's say you're trading from an office, or let's say you're trading from a laptop or something, and you don't want to download any software. You can just use the web app, log on, and it's just got a simple username and password login, and you're away and you get exactly this kind of thing, and this functionality is good on it. So go and check it out, and let's say if you want to use pivot points, on here it's other and down, and you click pivot points, and make the adjustments for the colors as you see fit. Take care, guys. Keep your risk managed. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye for now.